Life is strange. It gives us people who smile at us, laugh with us, and call themselves our friends. But sometimes, when we look deeper, those smiles are not real. This is the story of Ryan, a boy who believed too much in people, and in return, got nothing but pain. Yet in the middle of his pain, he found his greatest strength. Ryan was not an ordinary boy. He was the kind of person who couldn't see anyone sad. If a classmate forgot lunch, Ryan would quietly share half of his own. If a stranger asked for directions, Ryan would not just point, he would walk with them until they reached safely. People around him often said, "Ryan, you're too kind. The world doesn't deserve people like you." But Ryan didn't listen. He believed that kindness always comes back. He believed that if you give love, you will receive love. Every time someone smiled at him, he thought it was real. Every time a friend said, "I'll always be there for you," he believed it. His heart was pure, maybe too pure. As he grew older, Ryan's circle of friends grew larger. Everyone wanted to be around him. Why wouldn't they? He was the boy who never said no. If you needed money, Ryan would lend it. If you needed time, Ryan would stay up late to help with your homework. If you needed a secret kept, Ryan would guard it with his life. To the world, he was not just Ryan. He was a safe place. But deep inside, Ryan had a silent wish. He never spoke about it to anyone, not even to his closest friend. His only dream was simple, that one day, if life ever knocked him down, the same people he supported would stand by his side. That was his faith. That was his trust. Ryan's parents were proud of him. His mother would often say, "Son, you have the kindest heart." But remember, not everyone values kindness. Ryan would just laugh. "Don't worry, Mom," he said. "I know my friends. They would never leave me." But Ryan didn't know. Life had a test waiting for him. A test that would not only break his heart, but also rebuild his soul. This is where Ryan's story truly begins. Life doesn't always break us with storms. Sometimes it breaks us quietly with silence from the people we trusted most. One evening, Ryan's life turned upside down. His father, the strongest man he knew, collapsed suddenly at home. Within minutes, Ryan was rushing him to the hospital. The doctors said his father's condition was serious and treatment would be expensive. Ryan's heart sank. He didn't have that kind of money. But Ryan wasn't worried. Not yet. He had friends. Dozens of them. People who laughed with him, borrowed from him, called him brother. Surely they would help. With that hope, Ryan pulled out his phone and started making calls. The first call went to his closest friend, Daniel. Ryan's voice shook. "Daniel, please, my dad is in the hospital. I need money. Anything you can manage." There was a long pause. Then Daniel sighed. "Ryan, I wish I could, but I don't have any savings right now. Maybe try someone else." Ryan's heart dropped, but he stayed hopeful. He dialed another friend, then another. Each time, the answers cut deeper. "I'm busy, Ryan. I can't talk right now." "Bro, I just paid my bills." Next time, maybe. Some didn't even pick up his calls. Others left his messages on scene. The boy who was always available for everyone suddenly found no one available for him. Hours turned into days. Ryan walked the hospital corridors, exhausted, begging for help. He sold his belongings, borrowed small amounts from relatives, but it was never enough. Every night, he sat outside the hospital room, staring at his phone, waiting for a friend to call back. But the phone remained silent. One night, as he sat alone, tears streaming down his face, Ryan whispered to himself, "So, this is what I mean to them. After everything I've done, this is all I get." The memories of his kindness haunted him. The nights he stayed awake to help his friends study. The money he gave away without asking for it back. The times he stood in the rain just to bring medicine for a sick neighbor. All of it suddenly felt meaningless. And yet, there was no anger in his heart. Only disappointment. A deep, crushing disappointment that felt heavier than any pain he had ever known. Ryan realized something that night. People don't always leave when you are weak. Sometimes they leave when you need them the most. He sat there in silence, his head resting against the cold wall of the hospital corridor. For the first time in his life, Ryan felt truly alone. Not just without company, but without hope. And it was in that silence, in that unbearable loneliness, that his heart whispered a painful truth. Maybe kindness doesn't always return. Maybe trust is the first step to heartbreak. That night marked the end of the old Ryan and the beginning of someone new. Pain is a teacher. It may break your heart, but it will also rebuild your soul, stronger than ever before. After endless nights at the hospital, Ryan reached a point where he had no tears left. He was exhausted, hopeless, and drained. But in that broken state, something inside him began to shift. He realized that no one was coming to save him. The friends he trusted, the people he had sacrificed for, they had already turned their backs. If he wanted to stand, he had to stand alone. Ryan made a decision that night. I will never again beg anyone to be there for me. From now on, I will be my own strength. The very next morning, he started looking for work. He took double shifts, sometimes working through the night. His body ached, his eyes burned from lack of sleep, but he didn't stop. During the day, he stayed at the hospital, caring for his father. At night, he worked jobs no one else wanted to do, cleaning, carrying, serving. He told himself, every drop of sweat is a step toward freedom. It wasn't easy. There were days he collapsed on his bed, too tired to move. There were nights when his stomach growled because he hadn't eaten. But every time he felt weak, Ryan remembered those unanswered calls, those cold words, "Sorry, I can't help you." That pain became his fuel. Slowly, he began to change. He stopped wasting time with people who only wanted him when it was convenient. Instead, he started focusing on himself. He read books about growth. He learned new skills. He began saving every single penny. For the first time in his life, Ryan wasn't giving everything away. He was building himself. His mother noticed the change. She saw the determination in his eyes, the strength in his silence. One evening, she said softly, "Ryan, I know this is hard. But remember, diamonds are made under pressure." Those words stayed with him. Every time life pushed him down, he whispered to himself, "I am becoming a diamond." Months passed, and slowly Ryan's father's condition improved. The hospital visits became fewer, and Ryan finally had a moment to breathe. He stood in front of a mirror one day and barely recognized the man staring back at him. His face was tired, yes, but his eyes were sharper, his shoulders straighter. He was no longer the boy who waited for people. He had become the man who could walk alone. Ryan realized that loneliness wasn't his enemy anymore. It was his strength, and in that moment, he made a promise. From today, I will not live as a shadow of others' love. I will write my own story, a story of strength, a story of survival, a story that no betrayal can destroy. That promise was the turning point of his life, the moment the broken boy turned into an unshakable man. Every storm ends, and when it does, the sun shines brighter than ever before. Years passed since the night Ryan made that promise to himself. The boy who once begged for support had now become a man of strength, discipline, and focus. He was no longer waiting for people to give him a hand. He was building his own path brick by brick. Ryan worked harder than most could imagine. He saved every coin, sacrificed comfort, and invested his time in learning. Where others spent weekends partying, Ryan spent his nights improving his skills. He built small businesses, failed many times, but each failure only sharpened his will. With every setback, he stood taller. With every tear, he grew stronger. And slowly, the world began to notice. The same people who once ignored his calls now saw him driving his own car, running his own company, and living a life of respect. They whispered, "Ryan has changed. He's not the same boy anymore." And they were right. He wasn't. One day, at a cafe, Ryan met Daniel, the same friend who once refused to help him. Daniel smiled awkwardly and said, "Ryan, bro, it's been a long time. I'm proud of you, man. We should hang out like old times." Ryan looked at him, calm and collected. There was no anger in his eyes, no bitterness, just peace. He smiled gently and replied, "I don't hate you, Daniel, but I don't need you either, because I learned something you never taught me, how to stand on my own." Daniel was silent. Ryan walked away, not with hatred, but with dignity, because his heart was no longer heavy with betrayal. It was filled with strength, with lessons, with victory. Ryan often stood in front of the mirror and remembered the boy he used to be. The boy who cried in hospital corridors, who begged for calls that never came, who thought kindness would always return. That boy was gone. In his place stood a man who had discovered the greatest truth of life. Never depend on people for your survival. Depend on your own strength. Because the moment you choose yourself, you become unstoppable. His journey became an inspiration. People who once overlooked him now listened to his words, admired his resilience, and even asked for his advice. But Ryan never bragged, never mocked them for abandoning him. Instead, he shared his story, a story of betrayal, pain, and ultimate growth, so others could learn what he had learned. And whenever someone asked him, "Ryan, how did you do it?" he always replied with a smile. "I stopped waiting for people to save me. I became my own savior." That was his victory. Not the money, not the success, not the respect. His real victory was the strength he built inside his heart, a strength no one could take away again.